Hey, hey! My name is Crunk Chocolate, and welcome to the end of season report, part of Shades of Blues podcast content season, streaming live on FanFest. And the shout out to everybody on Patreon who's giving it a watch. It's the off season, which means we can all relax a little bit on our tribalism. So here I am asking some of my favorite people about clubs in the Premier League or the Women's Super League. And today we talk the Premier League. Right now we are talking Bournemouth. Super excited about this chat because there was a part of the season they were one of the hottest clubs in the Premier League. Wouldn't they get one of those European spots? I'm very interested to hear our guest today's thoughts. We've had him on before, so thrilled to have him back on. Shady Gang, give it up for Ross Devonport. How's it going?
Thank you. That's quite the introduction. Speaking of hot teams in the Super League, as you're mentioning it, my Fort Lauderdale United are in the title game this weekend.
Yeah, I watched the semis last week to watch I know Fort Lauderdale, they wouldn't back down. It was really fun to see. Like, they held tight. They were kind of going against it, and resilience, it pays off.
Shout out to Fort Lauderdale. It's actually owned by a guy that my wife knows through the air conditioning business. So shout out to them. I haven't been to a game yet, but I did see Argentina Colombia there a few months ago at that stadium. Nice little facility, and unfortunately they're on the road for the championship game this weekend. But only in Tampa, they were buying people tickets and coach trips, so hopefully a good number of the fans go up.
To Tampa. I mean, I guess I don't know how far Fort Lauderdale is.
5 hours-ish. 4 or 5 hours.
I've done worse. I'm going to Chicago this weekend, and that's a 3-hour drive. So, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, hopefully that's enough.
Oh, yes, we're here to talk Bournemouth. And the way that this show works, we have 5 categories: kits, manager, squad, supporters, front office, and our guests will grade each category A through F. Feel free to use pluses or minuses if you want to. We will start off with something fun, something light, something easy, and that is the kits.
We're in this year's home kit without the sponsor, because I'm not a huge fan of our sponsor this year. I know obviously the Premier League is trying to get rid of these gambling sponsors, and we nicely sold our shirts without the sponsor this year. So it's one of my favorite shirts over the last.
Yeah, it's a beautiful kit, I will say. On the first end of season report that we did, we had Chelsea mid on, and they went most of the season without a sponsor, and then basically once they got their they knew they were going to be in the finals, or at least the semifinals. That's when a sponsor came out of nowhere and was like, "Okay, we'll sponsor you," and that kind of went on a little run. And I looked at all of the sponsors in the Premier League, and 55% of the shirt sponsors in the Premier League are betting businesses.
Ours wasn't the BJ88. Just wasn't something I really wanted on my chest. I think if I was supposed to have it, I would have, but I had the choice of the no sponsors. So, yeah. I
would definitely choose it too.
I'm going to give our home kit certainly an A- this season, and a B+ overall for our kit. So this kit has got the gold in it because it's the 125th anniversary, which Max, we had it about 7-8 years ago in 2018-19 with the gold, and that's one of the kits that sort of many consider to be one of the best ones we've had ever. I wasn't a huge fan of the away kit. It reminded me, I was thinking about it earlier, it reminded me of the logo on those Solo paper cups and plates from the 1980s.
Yep, exactly.
Or whatever it was. We've had some, don't get me wrong, we've had some great white kits over there. We had a nice sash kit, we had a white with the gold a number of years ago. And I did like the third kit, though. It was a darker teal also with the gold hints. We've had a lot of teal kits for the last 5 years. I think I counted earlier tonight. We've had a tealish kit. But this, I think, was the best of the bunch we've had. A slightly darker green, more aqua with the waves. Obviously, Bournemouth being on the beach, on the ocean, on the English Channel there, and the gold accents really worked well as well. So I'll give it a B plus. Definitely the best home kit. I think perhaps in our Premier League career, other than that 2018-19.
Yeah, I hold on. I'm sorry, I might have missed it. What did you give the A minus for the home? The way I
B plus overall. I would say B plus overall. The way it was a C to me, and then I did like the third kit as a B. So I would say B plus.
Yeah, and I really did like that third. It's very much like merman vibes.
That's it.
Like...
Yes, if a mermaid was a Bournemouth fan, that is definitely the kit.
And who's to say they aren't? You know.
Exactly.
I like
beautiful spot on the south coast. Try and get out there. There in January. It wasn't too pretty in January. Weather-wise.
I bet.
But still, I've been there in the previous summer, and it's beautiful.
Oh man, and hold on, headphones up. That away shirt is a very interesting one. It has very big throwback vibes, and it's throwback. It's like, I guess maybe those cups were everywhere. They were worldwide, but I don't want to just assume.
That's good. That's a good point.
Yeah,
we obviously went with the throwback previous year as well, with the yellow buses, blue and yellow, which I had a sort of newer version of a retro kit. So it seems like this one wasn't the exact copy. We've had some wacky retro kits. If you go find our sort of triangle pizza kit from the 1980s, that'll if you go back and look at those, that'll entertain you, no doubt. And I see a lot of people wearing them still. We brought a lot of the retro kits back out the last few years for people to purchase for a lot less than the regular kits. So I've seen a lot of them out there in the stadiums. But yeah, no, I'm pretty impressed with this year's kit. I do like this one a lot.
Because I like that they brought in the stripes, so it's a nice modern feel. It feels sleek. I like it. And a lot of these clubs in the Premier League, they have to have these things on the home kit. So it's really how much can you change it up? How can you make something new for the 100th and something time?
Yeah, we've had variations of the stripes. We had a little zigzaggy pattern a few years ago. We've had thinner stripes with thinner black. We haven't really had the pinstripe. It's kind of got the gold pinstripe, which I really like as well. These are probably the fattest stripes we've had. Overall, we have had some that are a little close to this, but I do like the way the color is. This is the color.
Yeah.
Color, as we know, can make or break a kit, and I do like the simple. You gotta go round, or you gotta go full on collar. Anything in between, to me, gets a little messy. But we've made some mistakes, and that's probably the fact.
I feel like a lot of kits nowadays are kind of that in between, where there's it's like a lifted lip.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily a collar, but they will like color it and line it and things like that. It's always very interesting.
And we did have obviously our Michael B. Jordan kits, which we actually wore in the preseason when I went last summer, and the black and the red that had an interesting color. It wasn't my type of thing, but they were pretty cool kits. Not official kits because we didn't wear them during the season, but they were worn in the preseason as well. So they're pretty cool as well.
Yeah, I definitely
like Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, my one of my show bros, Tom Baum, anytime Bournemouth comes up, he always calls them the Fighting Michael B. Jordans. That's what he calls Bournemouth.
Well, the funny thing is, I have a friend, a former coworker of mine, who was at a bar mitzvah of a mutual friend of ours. I wasn't invited, which is fine. A few weeks ago, and similar to a theme of another bar mitzvah that we went to a few years ago, another mutual friend, the theme you could wear your sports jerseys. And he texted me and he said that his cousins were wearing Bournemouth jerseys. I said, that's very random. And apparently one of his cousins has just married one of Michael B. Jordan's business partners, who also sort of a part owner. He put a little bit of money into Bournemouth as well. So they all had the Bournemouth kit at the bar mitzvah, which was insane to me as well. But
hey, there we go.
Things have come in the last 10 years.
That American Michael B. Jordan influence coming in handy.
100%.
That's hilarious.
Exciting times with the kits. We'll see. I'm not sure when our new ones are coming out. We're normally one of the last ones to. I know we've seen some of the kits already. We haven't really seen any leaks of ours. We do sometimes get the leaks occasionally, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen any yet. So maybe over the next couple of weeks, especially with our obviously trip to the US coming this summer, I'm sure we'd like to get them out.
Yeah, you would think
For
that one of them would be announced soon because they would wear one of them during the games over here.
I would hope so. We've got some deals to make. We've got some million dealings to be done first.
Oh, yeah, sponsor deals make that money. I completely understand.
Well, with our player deals too, we've got some players that might not be around in the next couple of weeks either, so they're a little busy with that, trying to.
Oh, okay.
Buy some
Well,
people.
can't wait to hear about that when we get to the squad. So we'll move on to the next category then. That is manager. Okay, so big fan of Andoni Iraola. I always butcher his name. Goodness gracious.
Iraola. Yes, close.
Yes, he's. I enjoy his style. I love watching. The team seems to like him. There was a point when they were doing their best. I basically was telling everybody between Nottingham and Bournemouth, whoever ends up the highest, because I thought both of you guys stood a chance of being like in the European competition. Whoever ended up being the highest was going to win Manager of the Year. And then, whatever happened, whatever happened.
And I didn't even get nominated, which is astounding to me.
Yeah, and I just think maybe unfortunately it's just because how the way the team ended, but it wasn't necessarily a bad ending, but I guess from how hot you were at one point to cool off, and it's a popularity contest basically anyway. So we'll see.
Listen, the fact that Big Six teams, especially Tottenham, were obviously sniffing around, that tells you what we all think. So it's an amazing season for Andoni. Obviously, there was question marks when he first came in because obviously Gary Neal kept us up, and then he gets something getting fired, and we're bringing in this guy that obviously some people had heard of. I'd never heard of him. I don't follow Spanish soccer as closely as some people, but superb. Yeah, have to give him an A this season for Andoni. He certainly gets the most out of what we have. He gets a little crazy on the sideline on occasion, which embarrasses me. He makes the odd sub here and there, but plays that entertaining style. Which when we first came up in the Premier League, we just sort of parked the bus and hit hope. And now, we're pressing these teams in the final third and getting a double over Arsenal and things like that. As I said, as you mentioned, we were up there right around the turn of the year in the top 5 and certainly pushing for Europe. And faded a little bit in February, March, but finished strong. And super excited to have him again next year, especially under contract. Hopefully we can sign him to an extent that we've got for 2 more years.
Okay.
We know how much contracts mean these days.
That's fair.
So with Mr. Thomas Frank today, if he's willing to pay the money, we'll make a contract go away real quick. But superb season for
last night I had a conversation with someone who is a supporter of Brentford, and he obviously is disappointed, but he's also not overly, but for the most part, he's a cup half full type of person. So it was very much I hate to see you go, but I really do appreciate the time that we had. Thank you for everything, blah, 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 blah. And he's a better human than I am because watch my manager go to another club in the same league. I'd be a little hot.
Yeah, it's tough, but when you're the likes of us, Brentford, Brighton, as we've seen him out managers, Brighton have gone through. As long as you've got the upper management in place to continue finding these young talents and selling them on as well, which we've obviously seen Bournemouth do, not officially yet, other than Dean Hudson, but we see 3 go for combined 150 mil. As long as you can continue to go find the talent elsewhere, I have faith they'll be able to find the management talent as well.
Yeah, and we can move to the squad. There are plenty of players on the squad that I very much enjoy watching play football, and I hate this. I really don't want Kirkes to go to Liverpool because I enjoy him, and I was really hoping that City were going to go after him, but it seems like him and Liverpool are bound to be together.
You've already got one left back from us. We're not just going to get the left back. So, right,
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Probably the best player I've ever seen play in the Bournemouth kit overall. So, again, we made money on him and do that to other players. So, no, the squad, I think it was a real team effort this year. Everybody chipped in. I think I'll give it an A-. The injuries hurt at certain points, and we were left without a striker for a while. Evan Nielsen was hurt, even though he turned into be a great buy to replace Dom Solanke. And as Sunal was hurt at the same time, so I think we ended up having Dango Ouattara play up front, as well as Antoine Semenyo. The keeper situation was obviously a bit of a question mark coming into the season, but Kepa really stepped up when we needed him. Keeper situation now is very much up in the air because he's not coming back. I think he's going to try to get already signed with Arsenal. Backup to Raya there. So we'll have to see what happens with the goalkeeper situation, but listen, we had Tyler Adams, obviously our American, was a beast in the midfield once he got healthy, which was a concern last year. Lewis Cook was superb. He was playing in the midfield, or he even helped out at right back when we had some injury/performance issues there. And what can you say about the youngsters that we brought in over these last two seasons? Dean Heisen, sold on to Real Madrid. In fact, the Bournemouth is selling players to Real Madrid. It's just still insane to me. No matter how
yes,
so
it is wild.
And then Kirkes sounds like he's off to Liverpool if we can find a replacement, which apparently we have. Want to see if that deal ends up coming through Adrian Trooper from Rennes, pending the sale of Kirkes. So I'm just waiting on that. Obviously, the actual transfer window is closed for now until after the Club World Cup. But yeah, no, the squad was amazing. Everybody chipped in, as I said. Whenever we lost somebody, and Clivert had such a great first half of the season, faded away a little bit. Then Senesi went down and Heisen came in, and nobody knew this kid was going to be as good as he was. Just amazing. And yeah, Ryan Christie, we saw what impact he had in the midfield when he went down injured. Was really when we started to fade at the end of February into March. He was playing with injury for a long time, and that made him more amazing performance that he was putting in. But yeah, no, it's a superb season. There really wasn't anybody that had, I would say, a bad campaign. Obviously, when you match your record top finishes ninth and then the record points total, everybody has to chip in somewhere or another. And yeah, it's not depth was tested at times, as you mentioned, by the injuries. Obviously, at fullback, Adam Smith continued to be superb as well. Centre back, as you mentioned, Heisen, Zabarni, what a partnership they proved to be. Seems like they both might be out this summer, but
both of them? Wow.
Yeah, well, obviously Heisen's gone, and then Zabarni, PSG, been talking the last couple of weeks about getting him, which would obviously be a big blow. There was rumors today that we'd offered 40 million for Mario Gila from Lazio, the former Real Madrid centre back, and I was like, oh man, that's a lot of money for a centre back. But I think Lazio turned it down anyway. But it's good to hear we're getting adventurous in replacing Heisen, because he was obviously such a huge part of our success this season. But yeah, and maybe some changes coming next year, especially in the centre back spot. So we'll see how the squad shapes up coming into this US trip coming up in July.
Yeah, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of turnover going on in this club this year, and it will be interesting to see what the club does, but it helps having a manager like Areola, and because
they want to play for him, right? They want to play his style. They're on the. This is Clivert's been running. He's the first guy to score in all 6 major leagues in Europe. And ended up a dozen. This is his best season by far. Thriving.
Yes.
This is how he fits it. Now another year of recruiting under Areola and Thiago Pinto, our Portuguese football operations guy. So now those two are going to go back to work. I think we all have faith now, especially with our owner behind us. We're going to replace them with perhaps not similar talent, but certainly competent talent that will keep us fighting.
Yes, hope for the best. And yeah, Tyler Adams, he is my favorite of the U.S. national team that of the names that is readily known. There are other players who play in different leagues and things like that I guess, get a lot more attention than Tyler Adams does. But he comes and he does his job, and he's just like such a good soldier for a team where you would know he can be quiet the entire match because he's running around doing his job, or he can take a moment and score a goal or two if the team actually needs it. Yeah, he's a great guy.
I'm still waiting for his first goal in Bournemouth, fellas. I've seen highlights of him scoring golazos from distance, but in our system, he does bench it occasionally into the bottom there, but not too often. His big job is to plug up the middle. But yeah, he's been superb. What an engine! Not our captain, but obviously captain of the US. Great.
Yeah.
To
And Clover and Semenyo, like those two guys are ballers. And with Clover, he actually there are a few players on this team that once upon a time had all the potential in the world when they were younger, and everyone kind of thought that they would end up being like world beaters, like Ines Unal. I remember him from his time even with City. I believe he was there for a year or two, and he just kind of moved from club to club, and obviously injuries make things really difficult for him. But I just keep waiting for him to kind of like stand out and do his thing, and it just never kind of comes there. And that's the interesting thing with Bournemouth is they have a lot of these players where you're like, can they hit this level? Will they hit that level? It's very similar to like Nottingham Forest. They also have a few players who maybe bounced around from a club or two. Maybe some of them were a higher profile club, where you end up at Bournemouth, a place where this is a great chance for you to prove yourself and play under a really good manager and a team of just like stand-up individuals. Yeah, I really do enjoy Bournemouth.
Yeah, Cliver. I mean, obviously his thing was they don't really know where to put it. He was on the continent. He was a bit of central and a bit of left and right, and then I think he just thrives in the system as a guy that will chase the ball. Mm-hmm. And once if you do get that turnover, he's the guy. There's so many goals he scored this season from just getting that quick turnover and the driving 10, 15 yards and smashing it home. He found the perfect system. And Semenyo, yeah, there's been rumors about him as well, potentially leaving, but the evaluations I've seen are a little crazy. So I don't think anybody's really match that. Let's get another great season next year. But yeah, physical force on either wing, great strike as well. I think we really knew exactly how well he could strike the ball. But this year we scored a ton of goals from 15 minutes from runs out. Make a lot of goalkeepers look very serious. So yeah, look very excited about next year. Even though the centre back's going to be a bit
of yeah, that center back situation is really interesting. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that moving forward. And yeah, Semenyo, you have him signed till 2029. There's no real rush if someone is trying to, not pay what you believe he is worth.
I'd like to see him stick around for another year.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I enjoy watching him play football. Okay, well, the final category, the front. Oh, hold on. Nope, sorry. I skipped the supporters. The good old supporters. I missed my note. How did the supporters do this year in, uplifting their club?
Yeah, it's tough for us because we still have that group of, I don't want to call them loners, but they still remember the days of cheap tickets and 2,500 fans at a game and not being able to get tickets, no problem, trips, away to Carlisle 5-6 hours, and but then we also have the Johnny Come Latelys who expect us now to be top 5 every season, and just because we're in the Premier League and spending some money, but I'll give them a solid B for the supporters because. Listen, for those of you that watch Bournemouth games away from home on the TV, the traveling fans were amazing all season. Everybody comments on how much noise our away fans make. Even at the Arsenal game, I remember towards the end of last season at Highbury, you could hear the Bournemouth fans so loud. They're not Highbury anymore. Sorry, I think we got back to my old days at the Emirates. And I actually got to go to the Everton home game in January. Some people will say that Dean Court can be a little quiet at times. We're a retirement town. I mean, a number of our fans that have been around supporting this club for 30, 40 years are now in their 60s and 70s and still living in Bournemouth. So it can get a little quiet occasionally at Dean Court. That game against Everton January wasn't particularly exciting game as you could imagine. It parked the bus a little bit, but it was a great atmosphere. I got to take my son to his first Bournemouth game, first Premier League game, so that was superb.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
there's a few fans that are a little upset. They're raising ticket prices, but we'll talk a little about
That's
that.
everywhere.
The front office side of things, because we were so cheap, in the first place. I know they put caps, but they're continuing to bring that cap in to cap away tickets at least. It was £30 cap for away fan tickets. So at least for the away teams, fans that travel to the away games, they won't be too disappointed with the amount of money they're spending in addition to the travel. But when you have a stadium as small as us, you have to be charging a little bit more. It's just 12,000-ish. Obviously don't make our big chunk of change for that. We got the sponsorships and obviously the Premier League prize money, etc. TV money. But yeah, stadium. We'll talk about the stadium a bit as well. But yeah, no, solid B for the supporters this season. Always, especially with the away trips, we've got a few long ones coming because of where we are on the south coast. And, sometimes we get a little screwed with the late games on Sundays. When you do go visit the Manchesters and the Liverpools, just because of who they are, it makes for a tough trip and a tough Monday morning at work. But most of the away fans, most of the fans that go to the away games did it without complaint. So full credit to them.
Yeah, Man City are also dealing the supporter base. They're having a go with Manchester City. They actually just hired a lawyer to take on Man City because they have installed a rule where, you have to be for season ticket owners, you have to be at least 16 games, like sitting in your seats for at least 16 of the games, and you have to physically actually be there for 10 of them. So you can sell 6 of them, but 10 of them
Right.
You have to be there. But with the way that it is, games, they may be on a Friday, but if a team ends up playing in a competition, now we got to push it to Sunday, and it just makes everything so difficult and wild, and people have lives. So the main Man City supporters group union, they hired litigation to be like, this is discrimination. Like, what do people work? Like, you're literally telling us to keep our Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays open for 8 months just because you're forcing me. Like, you're already getting my money. Like, what is the problem? What are we doing?
Yeah, especially as you said, the trips, even especially with the away trips as well. The home.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a fan with a season ticket at home, as you've seen here in the US, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as somebody in the seat, somebody buying concessions and beer. That's crazy. I was the first that heard of that. I'm glad to hear it's not just us that.
It's going everywhere.
The problem with Bournemouth is that we will get home fans that will sell because there's only so many away fan tickets there. We will get away fans popping up in the home section quite a bit. I'm not sure how that happens. I'm not sure how much that happens at other stadiums, obviously with a lot more seats available for traveling fans, but it happens at Bournemouth a lot, where you see a Man U fan stand up in the middle of it. Of course, Bournemouth fans are pretty polite, so since the 1980s, so they're not going to leave with a black eye, but people get a little pissed off at it. These people are selling their tickets to away fans. It really shouldn't be happening. You can sneak in, obviously, if you're not wearing colors. But it's not a good look.
I'm with you, and that has also happened at Man City, and there have been like silly things. A guy gave someone a haircut during a game once at the Etihad earlier this year. Like, had 2 seats, and he was like a barber, and he had like his TikTok camera, like he made like a TikTok of it, and that became like a huge. Trust me, it's been a huge thing. Like, there have been multiple protests where people don't go in for the first like 10 minutes, and they're trying. They're really trying, and the club says the right thing, but then they continue to kind of be awful. There's an extension to their stadium that they're doing that's going to add, I think, an extra 8,000 seats maybe, but they haven't made any like season tickets available for those spots. So they're just going to be more just everyday match day, like pull up and pay top price for it. Yeah, and it yeah, there are some people I've had on, especially the ones in Manchester, where they come on and I talk to them about the tickets, and they're basically just like, "How much time do I have?" Because they could talk all day about it. Yeah, it's been it's been awful because yeah, City they make so much money. Whereas like Bournemouth, you said it, they have a small stadium. Like Fulham, people wouldn't guess it. Fulham have some of the more expensive tickets in the league
Oh,
and
yeah.
season tickets, and it's because of their stadium. Like you have to get bang for your
Yeah.
buck. You have to make up for it. Like I completely get it. I do.
Yeah, we went to we were on that trip in January. We also went to see Fulham against Nottingham Forest, and we managed to get tickets on the secondary market, which is not supposed to be done in the UK. Secondary market, unlike here, doesn't really exist. You can go through Ireland and get tickets through there, and we got great tickets behind the goal. But I know the seats in the newsstand, which backs up onto the River Thames, are super expensive compared to a lot of the teams that are. But it was a great day. 2-2, I think it was. Great day out.
Okay, well now we're at the final category, the front office. How what how good of a job did they do this last year? What thoughts on them, and what grade would you give
I feel like I'm being consistent with the A's here, but when you think about the training grounds, so we started our training grounds. I want to say it was our first spell in the Premier League towards the end of that, and then everything just kind of stopped when COVID hit, and it's taking us forever. We finally got the training ground finished, which if you haven't seen it, I know Ben and Blazers just did a great piece on us. And took a trip to the training ground. It's one of the prettiest in the Premier League. It's critical for us because our training ground was basically just in the park behind our our existing stadium. So a lot of people were frustrated after the first spell in the Premier League that we had nothing like that to show for it. We didn't own our stadium. We just finally bought it back over the last couple of months, finally, because when we were in some financial trouble years ago, we sold our stadium and leased it back to a construction/development company. So we really couldn't do a ton with our stadium because there wasn't much point in putting money into something we didn't own. So they got the training ground finished, and that they announced that they're going to work on increasing the stadium. There was rumors about obviously building another stadium somewhere else, but I think they decided to increase the capacity bit by bit of our current stadium. Obviously, making serious money on Hyson Kirkes, potentially Zabarny, bringing in Areola, obviously 2 seasons ago, but it really shown this year why they brought him in. And we obviously lost Richard Hughes at the end of last season, our former football operations guy to Liverpool. Not a bad start to his Liverpool career. We brought in Tiago Pinto from Portugal, who I mentioned a little earlier, and he's been superb so far. He's a former Roma guy, certainly one of the big young up and comers in the sport. Yeah, been superb. Bill Foley, our owner, an American guy, also owns Vegas Golden Knights, and now a number of soccer teams, Hibernian, Lorient in France, and other teams that we've been able to move players between. It's been obviously some areas of the world have the sort of we've seen it in baseball, obviously, with the minor leagues. Since the minor leagues have been kind of dropped a little bit, but not many teams in England. The owner doesn't own a number of teams, so it's helped us with transfers. Obviously, Dango came in. We got another guy coming in this offseason from Lorient. Krupi is supposed to be really good. Some fans are a little upset at the raising of the prices and the focus a little bit of the current stadium on hospitality and increase that. I think they took that section of our one stand and turned it into hospitality only. But obviously, big clubs like yourself know that that's where you can make the real money. On the hospitality side. It's a lot of people. That's the only place you can actually be guaranteed to get tickets. They've been really great with our Global Cherries program, which has allowed us to get in a lottery every game to purchase tickets. So they're really embracing the Global Cherries, which has been awesome. That's how I managed to get tickets. I don't think they have a ton of applications for each game, but it gives us the opportunity if we want to go to a game and spend the kind of money on travel that we know we're going to get a ticket. So that's been superb as well. Now an A for the front office. We'll see what they end up doing with the stadium. I don't think it'll. I hope they started working on it in some capacity at the end of the season. I'm not sure what part of it will be ready for next season. sure we'll see some construction photos once things get going. But yeah, no complaints on the front office ownership side of things.
That's good to hear, honestly. I was looking up this new facility that you're talking about, 36 million pound facility, 32 million pound
Yeah, not cheap.
facility. It's yeah, but I mean 16 pitches. It covers the men's, women's, and the academy team. There's even an indoor dome depending on the weather. This is what big clubs have. That's exact.
Yes.
It's a move to make Bournemouth a mainstay, hopefully where you will, excuse me, always be at least top 10, and you can have the academy. And as a City fan, I know how much, unfortunately, selling off youngsters can bolster your stance when it comes to PSR. Like we've lost young player after young player after young player, and it's upsetting. But when you can hold on to your key players, but then sell off 3 or 4 young players and bring in $60 million, that's good business because that's pure profit. So it's a very smart move from Bournemouth, and I am very interested in how they managed to build on to something like that.
Yeah, because we really haven't had a ton of sort of young talent come through, all the way into the first team. Sam Surridge is probably the last one I can remember. Of course, now he's thriving in MLS with Nashville. We ended up selling him off, and we went just. I know they have a sort of grades at level 1, 2, and 3 for the academy setup and the training grounds, and now we'll finally be up there with the rest of the Premier Leaguers after being behind for so many years. It was literally just a pitch, and really wasn't much else. I think the academy ended up training elsewhere for the most part. But yeah, no, it's exciting times on the ownership side of things. See what the stadium looks like. Hummed and hard about what they were going to do about building a new one, but they don't want to go too big because we see what happens when you do that, and then you get relegated. So they're looking at 20,000-25,000 would be good. I think we'll see how that turns out.
The stadium, your training facility, you're on the beach.
Exactly.
Hit them up, calling card.
See, now Southampton's been relegated. I think we're the only ones on the beach now. They're on a true beach in the south anyway. Nobody wants to be on the beach.
No, oh god, no, not at all. No.
Except Everton are just building their stadium basically on the water. It's not a beach by any means, but yeah, we'll see how they like that stadium when the wind comes whipping through there in the winter.
I know. Well, I mean that's very similar to Chicago. They have some stadiums, and they're kind of by the lake.
Oh yeah,
it's a really big lake. Yeah, so during winter it gets very windy and cold and crisp, and it's just like extra awful around there. And yeah, it's not great.
So the Fire announced they want to build their own little facility here last couple weeks.
Yeah, they're making some changes themselves. Yeah, I'll be there this weekend for a couple of games, and it'll be my first for the season there. I mean, they're not great, so that's why I don't go too often. But I am trying to do more. Yeah, trying to do more games in general, especially now that it's the off season. So I'm going to be traveling around. I'm hoping to hit Kansas City and St. Louis and things like that, and just taking some go-to games.
Gonna catch some USL games too.
Yes. Oh, most definitely.
Who's your nearest USL team? Where are you based out of?
I am. Hold on, let me look this up real quick. I believe it might be. Yeah, because it's Indiana. I'm in the Midwest. I'm like 3 hours from Chicago, so it's kind of.
You got Madison, Omaha.
Yeah. Madison, technically Madison, and that's still like 4 or 5 hours. I've been meaning to get up there because I'm. I used to go up to Madison a lot when I was younger because it's a good place to eat. Like the culture there is really nice, like good food, good art, things like that.
Yeah, I went to a game. I think it was 2019 now, the first year USL when Greenville played up there 1 August, and I went up there. It was a nice and beautiful night. 4,000 people there on a Wednesday night, which for USL.
Wow. Yeah.
I had a great time. Yeah, you got to go up to Breach Steve. It's one of the better venues in USL as well. Very interesting, unique venue.
That's what that is. All those are all the things that I've heard. Well, Ross, I really do appreciate your time. This has been wonderful. Appreciate your insights on the club. Please plug yourself. Let people know where they can find you and the things that you do.
That Ross bloke, I think on the X and on Blue Sky as well as Instagram. I'm not on the IG as much, but mostly on. I'll still refer to it as Twitter. But yeah, the color commentator for the Greenville Triumph for their home games. They haven't been home much lately. I know I've got a couple coming up later this month. They're actually playing right now against them. I haven't seen how they're doing, but if I'm not doing Greenville games, I'm usually doing USL Championship either on ESPN Plus or I was on Galazzo last weekend with Madison Omaha. Our first League One game on CBS Sports Galazzo this season, and then this Saturday doing Detroit City against Loudoun United, who are one of the better teams in the USL Championship. That game's only on Detroit. Well, my side of the broadcast is only on Detroit, and then I'll be on ESPN Plus later in the evening for Colorado Spring Switchbacks, defending champs against the Oakland Roots with the aforementioned Benny Failhaber and his first away game as a coach of the Oakland Roots. So that should be an interesting one. Switchbacks are off to a great start this season after winning the title last year. So they're looking to get things going in the Roots. Got 3 wins, a nice little 0-0 draw with El Paso last weekend. So looking to build on things under their new manager, who's very impressive talker. So I'll be on ESPN Plus. I think the game's that's an 8 o'clock game. It's in Colorado, maybe 9 o'clock on ESPN Plus this Saturday with my good friend Neil Rule, who's the voice of Detroit City. I get to do a pair of games with him.
Oh, nice. Well, Shady Gang, good job today. Thank you for coming to these shows. We will see you tomorrow. We have Manchester United men and women. We will be doing season previews for, and then we're good for the weekend, and we'll be back at it next week with an amazing slate of guests to talk some Women's Super League, some Premier League. But until then, you know the vibes. Shady Gang, Shady Gang, Shady Gang.